It is Monday, May 7th, 2018. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was a very, very productive get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Monday. We did a lot of stuff from Mount, and I got to tell you, I really wish we spent a little more time on Mount, because I really felt like it was really productive. You know, I did this neat thing on an escape though. We were doing positional sparring from the mount, you know, with somebody mounted on top. Even of course, the objective being to either get out and secure at least a half guard, if not a guard. And if you were flowing toward a submission, to, you know, kind of see where that went. So I did this thing where my opponent tried to swing around and get me in an arm bar. And so rather than fighting the arm bar like I normally do, I kind of hooked my wrist back to me and like gave him the elbow, right? So it's like he's pulling like crazy on the elbow, but the wrist is back, right? And I wasn't actually holding it with my other hand, because I found that just giving him that and getting my shoulder past a certain point, I was able to hold that position and then deal with his legs. And so what I did was he disengaged one of his legs because he was trying to hook it around me. And I managed to push against the other one that he had, you know, by rocking my feet up and then, like, you know, rocking upright and kind of smashing, right? Well, as soon as I got his legs smashed, I took my right leg and I put it over the back of his ankles. So I had his legs pinned from the back side. So he's literally up on his hip. And he's pulling on my elbow, right? He's still got my elbow between his legs. I've got my forearm on the back of his hamstring, so that's not going any further. I got his legs windshield wipered down by having his outer leg and his inner leg pinned, and I managed to windshield wiper my inside leg over his outside calf, right, and kind of hook around the gastrocnemius there, and then kind of pushed on his hip a little bit and just yanked the arm out, but I still kept him tight. You know, I didn't take my weight off of him, and so that felt really good. But I get that escape every so once in a while, and really I got to feel it coming on. You know, it's like as soon as I see a leg coming over for that, you know, usually I'm trying to cut for my bicep. And I like that move, because if you can cup your bicep with the arm that they're attacking, right? So you got, like, they're attacking your left arm, you take your left hand and you hook it around your right bicep. And then you take your right hand and you stick it up under their right knee, right? And so the harder they pull on your elbow, the closer their knees, they pull their head to their knees. And so they're kind of helping you scrunch, you know, so you kind of lean back then and you let them yank. And as they're yanking, you bring your legs up and then you straighten them back out and you pop yourself up. And my best way to do that, I try and swivel my hips out from under me there. And so I'm like smashing down on his hip. If they're up on their side still, like if you can keep a leg behind one of their hamstrings there, or like the left hamstring, say they've got your left elbow, you got your left knee up behind their left hamstring, right? So you're kind of preventing them from pulling it any further through, and you've got your right shoulder down on their right hip. Right, and you're just like applying some pressure there. You know, then you can just like hook back in with your right hand there and yank the left hand out. Like if they're really, really strong, you just yank that thing out from the other side there, you know, and keep your legs pinning theirs, and then, you know, work your way up toward the back. I've never made it like all the way up to the back, because like as soon as they get up on their side, the tendency is to like kind of shrimp away, and like if you don't have them pegged really tight in there, like if they don't have if they disengage the arm, right, or if you let them disengage the arm, there's sometimes I've actually retained their arm that they were attacking my arm with, and that's usually a lot of fun. But yeah, so it was a really good learning experience today, and I really need to spend more time like that, with somebody fully got me mounted, and I'm like, oh fuck, he's like way up, he's up on my elbows, he's got my elbows kind of cocked up. It's like, okay, what options do I have from here? It's like there really aren't too many. I mean, I try to, when I'm in that kind of situation, if I've got enough of my torso exposed, I try to bring my legs closer to my arms. Because then you have the weight of your legs that's behind them, and it opens up some possibilities, I think anyway, for for sweeps, or at least a means of getting yourself out of the sickening position where they got you pinned, and it's just a matter of which arm they want to take and tear apart on you. It's a bad place to be. Bad. But it is not intractable. There are escapes. There are things you can do, and even in the darkest of dark hours, in dark moments, when you got just that itty-bitty, teeny, tiny ounce of energy left, and you can summon just a little bit of breath, a little bit of angle on your hips, kind of thrusting up just a little bit of room. That's all you need. And it can change the whole story. You could be having that guy on his side at least, maybe heading towards his back, maybe a part way passing around the hip. It's not over until the fucking fat lady sings. Just remember that. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down with our first dance. Life or Death, Helmet, here on Coin Metal. And that was Meshuggah with The Hurt That Finds You First. Yeah, that's the thing to fear, isn't it? Anyway, I do have a ton of articles that I wanted to go through today, although I'm not entirely certain exactly which one we want to start off with. I did start off the day with a really interesting query put to me by somebody on my Twitter feed, and I clicked on this, and I'm not entirely certain if this will go into the full depth of it, and if not, I may actually go back to the original thread, because honestly, I felt this was definitely a worthy topic to be bringing up, especially in the light of the direction that some would like to push the development of Bitcoin, i.e. making it primarily some sort of settlement layer for like everybody in the world's transactions, and the miners won't be making anything but like one fee for like billions and billions of transactions happening on the blockchain, on an off-chain kind of bullshit thing. Anyway, I've asserted for quite some time now that the vast majority, if not the entirety, of the Lightning Network will be all of the trust points that the recipe for it calls for. And I mean, there are many. If you read any of the material on it, they're talking. They need watchtowers, they need third-party observers, and all kinds of fucking bullshit. Third-party aggregators and all kinds of trust points that could be abused to all hell, as far as I'm concerned, because it's all happening off-chain. So for the period for whatever fraudulent activity that may be occurring to occur is pretty much indefinite, i.e. it will last as long as the payment channel does. And so I've been reviewing a lot of the material, and I keep coming back to it, that I think all of these third parties that the thing is calling for they have in mind already one third party that will be doing all of it. Okay? They're not telling you a whole grouping of new industry that's going to be developing, and everybody and his brothers can be able to get into it, and oh yeah, Lightning Network payment channel, I'm collecting fees, it's cool, yeah. No. If it's anything close to that, it'll be that you get to buy a proprietary box of some sort that will allow you to bounce other people's transactions off of it. But as far as like your level of participation, as far as I'm concerned, I think it'll be much less than being a miner. You'll have much less liberty as far as how you can run your hardware and so on and so forth. As a matter of fact, I believe licenses of some sort, from the software all the way, maybe hardware, all the way to, state and federal and city licenses to conduct this activity are in mind. But it's only because, again, it's all happening off-chain. You're assuming the trust, that you're going to be a legitimate player and that you're not going to attack the network while you have access to it. So, I believe that the way you get around all of that bullshit is you just be all the parties that do all of those things. And then you don't have to trust somebody else because you're it. Well, you aren't going to do it. I am not going to do it. Visa can do it because they do it right now. Bank of America can do it because they do it right now. Wells Fargo can do it because they do it right now. Chase can do it because they do it right now. Goldman Sachs can do it because they do it right now. And these guys all have one thing in common. They are regulated entities that have licenses. State and federal and international licenses. They adhere to regulations that are both state, federal, county, city, national, international, space. It doesn't matter. They are the parties that determine what regulations will be applied to them because they are the majority of the fucking money in the market. But all of these people already have all of the licensure, all of the little trust certificates, okay? All of the relationships that are necessary to help bring mass adoption to their shit, right? But this is assuming, of course, that there aren't other options. And see, I think that the intent right now is to take away options. They don't like operating out in the public. They don't want you the miner to be mining their transactions directly. No. They don't want you to not only not mine their transactions, they also don't want you to mine the transactions of their customers. They don't want you to get that business. But see, the thing about all of this is that it changes the whole incentive dynamic for Bitcoin. I mean, really, why would you participate in mining a coin that you can't actually participate in otherwise? If you need a third party in order to use it, just to be able to afford to use it, how much less useful does it become then than every other option out there that doesn't require that? Much. Because the system that they're talking about taking Bitcoin into, there's all kinds of little trust points that do not exist with like 500 to 1,000 altcoins out there that you could just as easily use. They are not going to have the same regulatory burden. They'll be just as legal as Bitcoin ever was, and you'll be able to use them as free of third parties as you've ever been able to. Now, with that in mind, why would you continue to use Bitcoin? As long as Bitcoin Cash was running as a public network that was, they are having this hard fork on the 15th and going up to 32 megabyte blocks. And just a side note, that is the maximum block size. That doesn't mean that every single block is going to have 32 megabytes worth of fucking transactions in it. And for all you fudsters that are like, oh, well, what about spam? Who gives a fuck? With the transactions being that tiny versus how much room you actually have to host them, who gives a fuck? Talking about 64,000 transactions. And that's just, rounding it at 2,000 transactions per megabyte. 64,000 transactions. You take that into your dome there for a little bit. Do you think that we're going to have to worry about needing the Lightning Network if in one block you can fit 64,000 transactions? What's that going to do to your fucking fee market that you keep yammering about on the Bitcoin side? When nobody wants to use your network because it's way too fucking expensive to do it, even talking about doing with SegWit and whatever, because you're limited at 1 megabyte. I've already said that's going to be the most expensive fucking real estate on the planet. Especially if we're talking about having the Lightning Network on top of it. Because now, because you are processing millions, potentially even billions of dollars per closure of one of these payment channels, there's going to be a significant fee involved in mining these transactions, the closing transactions, and eventually it'll also bleed into the opening transactions as well. You're not going to be able to just open it with a small transaction and bail money into it as you go along. Because eventually all of those transactions that you do bump money into it, they will be charging for those. And eventually, if you do like 3 transactions, the cost of doing the 3 transactions will be more than doing the 1 transaction, because the transaction fees associated with them will go up as the value of the transactions opening and closing these payment channels increases. And it's like people envision this shit all happening in a vacuum. That there's no other options. Let me tell you something. If you make transacting Bitcoin too big a pain in the ass, you know what people are going to do? They're going to switch to Dogecoin. They'll switch to Verge. They'll switch to Litecoin. They'll switch to anything other than Bitcoin because it'll be cheaper and faster and less complicated to do so. And I don't understand why this seems to be a mystery to some people. Like they got their mission, let's take over Bitcoin and make it run like a refillable Visa card. And they're completely avoiding the fact that there are other options available, dude. There are a significant number of other options available. And it's not a matter of once you take over Bitcoin, everything else becomes irrelevant or everything else becomes illegal. Because I'll tell you what, if it does become illegal, you'll increase the premiums on transacting in altcoins. And then it'll be more profitable to mine those. And what do you think is going to happen to your hashing power when it's more profitable to mine Dogecoin than it is Bitcoin, even with Lightning Network? And there is always the matter of choice. On the surface, you may have some sort of regulatory apparatus that you can pressure exchanges and so on and so forth to be KYC or CYA compliant or whatever. But what you can't do is force people to use those exchanges. They will rely on things like over-the-counter trading or trading in chat rooms. And what kind of grip do you think you're going to have over that? If people are willing to accept the risk of the other party not fulfilling on the transaction just to trade off the books, what fucking hope do you think you ever have of wrangling that shit in? I predict people will launch their own mesh networks specifically to be able to continue transacting amongst themselves without you before they say, we're going to give up this freedom entirely. And that's just all there is to it. But I wanted to throw down this article here, and this concerning a feature, I suppose, being proposed in the whole Lightning Network business, or something to that effect. Well, like I said, if I can find the Twitter feed that led to this, or led to my discovery of this, I will read it. Anyway, this is on payfirma.com, and it's by Alice Chen, so no penis. What is an aggregator? And this was authored on August 20th, 2015. And here we go. An aggregator conjures up imagery of some sort of superhero, one that fights fraudsters and helps the good business of the world accept credit card payments. Alas, a superhero it is not. But it still does the other things. A merchant aggregator, payment aggregator, or simply aggregator is a service provider that allows merchants to accept payments without having to set up merchant accounts. Well-known aggregators are Square, Stripe, and PayPal. Aggregators are named so because your business is grouped together with other merchants in an aggregation and tracked individually. An aggregator accepts payments on behalf of merchants. Essentially, with an aggregator, you and the other merchants use their merchant account to take payments, whereas with a merchant account, you are the sole owner. However, aggregators, much like with anything, have pros and cons. Pros: quick application process. The process to sign up for a merchant account is lengthy because banks are not in the business of handing out accounts to everyone. Unlike merchant accounts, aggregators have a shorter application process and require minimal information because they don't have to individually assess each company. You can see the massive appeal of aggregators for small or new business because sign-up is simple. Instant approval. Another appeal of aggregators is the approval process is instant. Aggregators have such high popularity with many smaller merchants since it is easy to implement. Time is money, and the faster you can start processing, the faster profit starts rolling in. On-the-spot access. It's easy to apply and even easier to set up. After signing up, you can immediately start processing e-commerce payments or just pop the mobile swiper on your cell phone and you're ready to take payments on the go. Easy to understand fees. Understanding payment processing fees can be a difficult task. Another draw of aggregators is that they have simple, fixed fees. Cheaper to an extent. While the set rates are slightly higher than most merchant account fees, the pricing is still less expensive for merchants processing at lower volumes. Once you start processing more, an aggregator may actually be too costly, but we'll get to that in the cons. In addition, there are often no monthly fees or contracts. Cons. Frequent account holds. By removing entry barriers and allowing instant credit card processing, aggregators bear higher risk. Aggregators take on the risk for fraud of all the merchants under their umbrella. So to counteract the risk, they exercise extreme caution when irregular activity is suspected. This means that they won't be shy about freezing accounts without notice. Think of it like this. Merchant accounts are preventative and aggregators are reactive. During the merchant account application, they obtain information such as your normal processing amounts, so they know what to expect. With aggregators, since they remove the lengthy application process, they put your account on hold to do their due diligence when something seems out of the norm. So it is up to the merchant to decide between a more extensive setup with few interruptions or effortless setup with the potential of frequent holds. Sometimes the holds are only minor inconveniences, 24 to 48 hours. In other cases, longer holds occur, 30 days, and in some extreme cases, the account is shut down. High fees. To allow a high number of merchants to process instantly and easily, aggregators increase their own risk. In return, the higher risk correlates with higher fees. Aggregator fees are fixed, so when you start processing more, merchant accounts are worth considering because the fees are tailored to your business. Lower limits. Aggregators have their own fees. They are charged based on gross processing volume, which means that your processing limits are lower than they would be with a merchant account. A delay of funds. Aggregators have control over when they disperse your money. They usually hold on to the funds for 24 to 48 hours before depositing, but holds could potentially be longer. Conclusion. There's no universal conclusion when it comes to whether an aggregator or merchant account is better. Typically, an aggregator is preferred for a smaller business. While it is the goal of any business to grow better, it's not necessarily every merchant's goal to grow bigger. So aggregators are optimal for businesses content on staying micro. However, for those businesses that want to expand, processing needs will outgrow an aggregator, at which point a merchant account would be better suited. It comes down to what is best for your individual business. That's an interesting perspective on being an aggregator. Now, let me see if I can find that Twitter feed that drew me to that. Let's see here. No. Here we go. Alright. A serious question. And this is by Cryptobabble on Twitter. Do you understand what an aggregator is in the context of e-commerce, specifically Lightning Network? And let's see. And then somebody did a poll. He did a poll. Should have did a poll. Suppose I was looking for interaction from some that may not know and are curious. Here's a poll if interested. 14% was yes, 84% or 86% no. And that's still the same. Going to spot some stuff on another thread just because. At the very least, I hope the info here makes it to where those that answered no can respond with a yes next time someone asks. And this was the definitions that he gave, or the definition he gave for aggregator. Number 1, a website or program that collects related items of content and displays them or links to them. Number 2, a wholesale buyer or broker of utility service such as electricity or long-distance telephone services who packages it and sells it to consumers. And guys saying to consider this in the context of the Lightning Network. And let me see if I can find the rest of that. Let's see here. Damn it, guys! They're still clicking no. I failed you, and I will now go cut risks. Sorry, guys. This was my response, and I started a dialogue here with him. If I read it, will it make it so I can vote again? He answered, no, you're stuck in a perpetual state of unknowing. Sorry. Thank you for taking a look, by the way, because I did take a look at what the business was there as far as his description of what an aggregator was, or exactly what he was driving towards on that. Let's see here, and this is my response to that is, I've been singing the same song for the last 2 years, but it's really refreshing to see someone else who quote-unquote gets it. Bob is a bank. And this is Babel's response. I was hoping that would come through without being too obvious to scare people off. I also avoided terms like hubs, considering that comes with negative connotations. I just want others to see what's being built out, as it is incredibly concerning for the future of Bitcoin. And, I replied to that, and I said, I can certainly appreciate the efficacy intended. I prefer the slapped in the face with a dead fish approach, but it's only because I love the look on their faces afterwards so much. And, I do tend to be aggressive on some of these points, but, honestly, I think it's just too much freedom to just be giving up. If you don't understand it, take the time to educate yourself. It's not like there's not any resources for this shit out there. I think more has been written about cryptocurrencies and their attributes over the last 3 years than, I would say, like C++. Between different ideas that people have to apply this technology to, and different features that people have wanted to add to it. Like I said, I think there's so much out there for you to be reading or watching on YouTube or anything. Look up Bitcoin and then just click on the third page of results from Google and start going through those, kind of skip ahead a little bit. Be random with it. You'll find out all kinds of information, all kinds of shit that either people don't really consider that is new to you, but is completely obvious to you. We're not experts. There are people that will tell you that they are experts in this space, and they are lying. Lying. I don't care if we're talking about Goldman Sachs. I don't care if we're talking about Satoshi Nakamoto himself. He might have had the idea up in his dome. He might have even thought of all the little possibilities that could happen. But determining when they're going to happen, to what intensity they're going to happen, how many people they impact, in which ways it will impact them, it's completely unfucking predictable. Because things change. And there are so many different people every moment that are getting a taste for this at various levels, and either determining whether or not they want to go forward with it, if it's just a bunch of bullshit, if it's some sort of speculative thing that they just fly on every once in a while, or if this is their future. And with that kind of dynamism continually entering and exiting the market, predicting anything firm enough to chisel and granite, you're wasting your fucking time, dude. It will be obsolete. It will be untrue by the time you're finished. That's just all there is to it. And I think, from some perspectives, I think that could be the source for a great deal of frustration on the part of regulators, because they are used to people that they can go to and say, all right, do I have a place in this? Do I need a place in this? What the fuck is this? And those people being able to definitively define it for them. And I'm sorry, regulators, it is not up to these people to define it for you. It is up to you to define it for yourself. And there's no magic bullet to defining the best way to respond to it. Every government entity out there is going to try to respond to it in their own way. And some will succeed and some will fail. all I can say is the more aggressive that you are about it, the more repressive that you are to it, the worse it's going to be for you. And because we're talking about money now. We're not talking about cannabis. We're not talking about products that you buy with the money. We're talking about the money and what people are willing to use as money. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. I know it was kind of short in between there, but I just went chatty Cathy on you there and I want to tone it down just a teeny tiny, you know. And let's see. Make Your Own Bones by Nothing Face here on Coin Metal. And that was Slipknot with Wait and Bleed. And I was talking to some people in the Telegram, and if you are listening and you are in the Telegram, MG, in answer to your question, yes, I do have the Slayer. But we're done with the music break for now. But we will have another one. So if you do have any Slayer songs that you would like to hear and you are in the Telegram, please let me know. I will pick from them if there is more than one, and we'll go from there. So anywho, speaking of XVG, I do have some interesting stuff on my table here. And this one is just a quick little read here. This is authored on May 4th by BitBNS. I guess that's BitBeans of some sort. XVG listed on BitBNS, India's only exchange to trade 36 digital assets. We are here with our next big announcement. Verge is coming. Oh yeah. Verge token symbol XVG is among the top 30 cryptocurrencies in the world. Deposit for XVG is now live. Trading time for XCM will be announced via our Telegram group. And why do I give a fuck about XCM? We're talking about XVG here. Contest rules for XVG. Trader of the day, highest trade in terms of volume, will win $5,000 worth of XVG. Contest eligibility: you must trade a minimum of 50,000 symbol. I can't tell what that is. I'm assuming that's like maybe a yen or something. 50,000 worth of XVG on the first day. Ooh. Depositor of the day, largest depositor of XVG wins 5k weird symbol. Again, I don't know if that's like Chinese yen or something of XVG. Contest eligibility: you must deposit at least 100,000 worth of XVG, and again, I don't know what that weird symbol is. You need to sell at least 40% of the XVG on the first day. That's a weird kind of promotion, I think. I guess this is their way of getting some liquidity onto the exchange. What is Verge cryptocurrency? Verge XVG is a secure and anonymous cryptocurrency built with a focus on privacy. It is a decentralized currency designed for users who value privacy. It improves upon the original Bitcoin blockchain by using multiple anonymity-centric networks such as Tor and I2P. It utilizes multi-algorithm mining support to improve security and provide equal distribution of coins to miners. I think that's really fair myself. XVG has recently announced their partnership with MindGeek. MindGeek is one of the largest payment processors on the internet, with several hundreds of businesses routing their payment traffic through them. MindGeek is an all-in-one deal for Verge, owns everything from payment gateway ProBiller to huge traffic network, Pornhub, browser, etc., to huge advertising platform Traffic Junkie. Let's see, market metrics: market cap rank 27, token symbol XVG, market cap last 24 hours. Is that right? Oh, that must be that weird symbol. Is they're saying 76,703,000 or 703,843,829 of whatever that is, and it's not a dollar sign. Anyway, so yeah, quick little drive by, a little attaboy for XVG. I will say this, for being where XVG started, Verge Currency, the way that it's come up, it's like, to me, it's almost like the Rocky story, is that, back in the day when it was Dogecoin Dark, there were a ton of other coins, not all of them very good, but most of those have actually gone by the wayside. There's very, very few of them from that era that are still under the same administrators that started with them, or that they started with, or is doing the same thing or same way, or working under the same name, or so on and so forth. But XVG has been Justin or Soonrock's thing pretty much this whole time. So, well, it has been his thing this whole time, whether it was Dogecoin Dark or as Verge. And so, to me, it's really kind of impressive considering that time in that period. I mean, there were several options during the peak of the altcoin bloom in like 2000. I would say 2013 to 2015. There were all kinds of anonymous coins. They weren't so centric on privacy, and there were tracking ways on a few of them. But for the most part, a lot of them have gone away, or again, they've become something else, like Darkcoin. I think Darkcoin became Dash, and they're still bumbling about out there. They seem to be retaining their value to US dollars pretty well, and I would anticipate if we do go through another really big altcoin boom, that Dash will be among one of the beneficiaries of that. But yeah, I'm sure that XVG will be too. And yeah, like I said, I've been with XVG pretty much since the beginning. I think they might have been around a couple months before I discovered Dogecoin Dark, but I've always really liked the community, and to me, it's been one of the things that has really separated it from a lot of other projects, is that it's always had, every time that it's had one of these spikes in interest, it's always gotten thousands and thousands more people including themselves into the community. And I think that's exactly the kind of effect that you need over time in order to become a viable currency, is that people become oriented enough with your product to trust it enough to transact in everyday transactions with it. I've done several Verge currency transactions. I mean, my transactive activity is lower than some. But for the most part, I'm an investor. But I have used XVG on a couple of occasions as money, and I really like it. It's fast. It seems to work on everything that I've tried it on. So, yeah, that's the important part about all of this. I don't care what other fucking bells and whistles there are on a currency. However, I do enjoy the privacy-centric aspects of XVG. That really, it's just about moving the monetary value from one person to another without a third-party intermediary. That's if all a cryptocurrency does is that, and does it, faster and cheaper than other options. That's in my mind, that is so fucking significant, so revolutionary, that really, what else does it really need to do? I mean, the advantage that, XVG, it's more privacy centric. Again, you can be completely anonymous with it, but that's neither here nor there. When you're talking about the attributes of coin, that's its attributes. But yeah, it also seems to be significantly faster than a lot of other cryptos out there. But yeah, I've just always been impressed with its growth over time, and I think that it will continue to be one of the top coins in the world. And you might want to avail yourself of that. I'm not saying that you should invest in it, but I'm invested in it, and that's just me. But I've always been hopelessly and imprudently invested in it, and I wholly admit, I'm just short of a shill, but that's only because I actually own some. If I were a shill, I wouldn't own any. I'd just be trading it, but I own plenty. Well, not a lot, but enough that if it ever becomes worth like $1, I'll be okay for a month or two. I'll have a little teeny tiny bit of cushion room. But my big dream for XVG is that I won't have to trade it for dollars to spend it. That the vendor that I'm trading and transacting with will accept it as a medium of exchange, because that's what it's meant to be. It's not meant to be a hodling coin, even though I do hodl it. But I consider coins kind of like businesses on an exchange, like NASDAQ or a Dow or something like that, in that I do invest in them. But that's because I evaluate their performance, how well they actually fulfill on their promises. It's terribly important to me. And I use that to guide me as far as how I choose to invest. And I really strongly suggest all of you to do the same. It's like, I don't care what product anybody else is talking up, me or Andreas Antonopoulos or World Crypto Network or Max Kaiser or Peter Schiff, anybody. Really, do your fucking homework. We are not the only voices, and the safest hands are always your own. You know your tolerance or your resistance to any kind of risk. You understand your risk aversion. You understand it better than anybody else. But you do need to temper it with actual experience, and that includes being wrecked occasionally or getting wrecked occasionally. If you do it enough times, you understand that really it's not the exchange's fault. It's your fault. It was a pebcac. It inhibited you for a moment. But the thing to do then is to take a look at exactly what happened, determine where the flaw was, and go about doing something to resolve it there. Not necessarily, barking up somebody's tree, calling up the SEC, calling up the CFTC or the IRS, or trying to bring some court case. Whatever, dude. Why would you waste your time and your energy on it? There's so much shit going on right now that you could just as easily be investing your interest in that could actually make you fucking money. So again, I don't get these people on Twitter where they're talking down other projects just to do it. It's not like their claims are valid or anything. It's just that for whatever reason they think that negative press on a coin is as good as positive press on yours. And if you dedicated as much time and energy as it takes to whip up negative ads and campaigns against other coins to improving your own coin, you wouldn't even have to worry about the other people. You wouldn't have to worry about it because you'd be better than them. And everybody would know you're better than them, and so they would use you instead of them. But no, we're still about corralling interest, and no, that shit's not going to fly, dude. People will just develop a way around you. I've long characterized crypto as like an organism, like a biological environment. And it's like single cellular life is just developing again, and it's like it feels like a noxious environment over here, and so it goes over there, and it likes this more than something else, and so it eats it. And some of the things it likes is bad for it and gets it sick. But it hasn't died yet. It's still kicking around after 9 years. And so that gives you some idea of what the longevity of it is, because the average single cell life form does not live 9 years. Anyway, I got this article here, and this is what I'm talking about with regard to some of the resistances that develop to negative pressures. And I think this is a natural response to an artificially imposed bottleneck that isn't doing anybody any good, except for those that have already bought and are trying to increase the premium on their own coins before they sell. And so this one's on Bitcoin.com. Another Indian company challenges ban on crypto banking. And this is authored, let's reload this thing just to find out, 3 days ago by Lubomir Tasov. And let's do a real quick cup check. Yes, penis. RBI's ban faces another challenge. An Indian crypto trading company has raised another challenge to the ban imposed by the Reserve Bank of India on banking services offered to companies and individuals dealing with cryptocurrencies. Flintstone Technologies Private Limited has sought the withdrawal of RBI's April 6 circular, filing a plea with the Delhi High Court. India's central bank wants to prohibit commercial banks and other financial institutions from providing crypto-related services. On Friday, the plea was listed for hearing before Justice Rajiv Shakdir, the Business Standard reported. According to the Indian outlet, Shakdir has asked the court's registry to place it before the bench, which is already hearing a similar matter. Earlier this month, Kali Digital Ecosystems, the company that will be operating the new coin recoil exchange, appealed to the High Court against the recent crackdown on banks working with companies from the crypto sector. In its petition, Flintstone Technologies contends that the central bank's circular has fenced all regulated entities from providing services to any individual or business dealing in virtual currencies, without mentioning any reasons for its decisions to impose the restrictions. RBI has given banks 3 months to comply with the order, and then they're going to go pound sand. The Maharashtra-based company, which is a provider of online crypto wallet services for Bitcoin and Money Trade Coin, has also submitted that while central authorities are still studying the effect of cryptocurrencies without banning them completely, the RBI's circular indirectly restricts their trade. It claims that the prohibition is, quote, arbitrary, unfair, and unconstitutional. I'd have to agree wholeheartedly. Lack of regulations increases uncertainty. According to the document issued by the Central Bank of India, the entities regulated by the RBI are prohibited from, quote, providing any service in relation to virtual currencies, including those of transfer or receipt of money in accounts relating to the purchase or sale of virtual currencies. The other company that has challenged the ban, Kali Digital Ecosystems, has claimed that the lack of crypto regulations has, quote, increased the uncertainty over the treatment of such transactions and is adversely affecting its proposed business. The Gujarat-based company says that the RBI directive is arbitrary and represents a violation of the Constitution of India. On April 22nd, the Delhi High Court asked relevant authorities, including the RBI and Goods and Services Tax Council, for official responses on the plea. The regulatory uncertainty and the broadening bank clampdown have seriously affected cryptocurrency exchanges in India. In March, representatives of the industry reported that the trading on local platforms had dropped significantly. Some companies have started looking for more favorable jurisdictions, as newsbitcoin.com reported. Since the announcement of the upcoming restrictions, however, trading volumes in India have spiked again, with investors trying to take advantage of the window before the ban takes effect. Do you expect the Indian government to eventually legalize crypto-related activities? Share your thoughts on the comments below, and we're definitely reading those because I anticipate they will be juicy. Let's go with the first one here. This is by Giles Ensor. This is why there has been a huge brain drain in India for decades. If I were trying to set up a new cryptocurrency related business, I would vote with my feet and just go somewhere more conducive. India has a huge highly educated population and a dynamic young workforce, and yet its GDP is about the size of the UK when it should be about the size of China's. I couldn't agree more, dude. And this is somebody's response. This is Bandopant Saith. Yes, I agree with you. Indian worst politicians make this brain drain happen since decades. We elected Modi government with hope that the situation will change with their agenda, Digital India, but they are doing worse than Congress government. We common people always suffered by worse decisions of worse government. Big controversy of this Modi government. We really don't know why they are become enemy of crypto world. Instead of banning crypto transactions, RBI should recover lakhs crores non-recovered debts from big thieves who ran away from the country. It is people's money, and people have right what to do with their money. People have right where to invest or gamble anywhere. RBI's decision is really unfair, unconstitutional, and against democracy. And the last response by Giles Ensor on this one. You are not wrong, brother, but when it comes to punishing the big boys or punishing the little people, you couldn't get odds that any government will go after the big boys. After all, in the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis, how many little people lost their houses, jobs, and pensions? And how many people responsible for the crisis went to prison? That says it all. Yeah, and I think that, I think these guys are really, really on it, that India has been causing a brain drain within their own borders because of their repressive perspectives on cryptocurrency and other digital innovations in India. However, I believe that because they do have such a highly educated populace, that not only are they currently, but in the future, I believe India will be one of the crypto hubs. And when I say hubs, I'm not talking about a centralized entity owned by a single entity that's like making money on everybody's transactions and all that other shit. No. I'm talking about like an innovation hub, such as like Silicon Valley or San Francisco or Seattle, Washington, or I think Dallas or Fort Worth, Texas. One of those two. They're very, very, very technologically minded in for Texas, that is. And just on that point, Texas has always had a rap for being like out there. But let me tell you something. Those people are on it. And I think that eventually India, the crypto thing, it's going to decouple the digital development of India away from their government. And I'm not making that as like some bullshit claim. I believe that the brain power, much like military might served previously, when it exceeds the competency of the leadership gets eaten and replaced by the next alpha in line. We're no different from wolves in this aspect. That we have an alpha, and when that alpha can no longer contain everything and keep everything under control, the alpha gets ate. And crypto is no different. The Vorpal the Vorpal blade of digital finance is now in the hand of the everyman. And so who is defined as quote-unquote alpha is no longer going to be restricted to who's wearing the fucking crown or whose name is listed next to the word president. No. That guy's just like he's as much, if not more, a titular head at this point as he's ever been, if not more so. Because one of the advantages of being the guy at the helm there is being able to dictate monetary policy to some extent, or at least promote the interests of somebody who's willing to forward their monetary policy. It's the same difference. But now the entities that are providing that monetary power, that power to transact from one person to another, because that ring has been handed to you. Yeah, you. The power that they previously wielded is at least partially fractured now, because now you are a competing interest to the Federal Reserve. When I say you are Janet Yellen, you are Jerome Powell, I'm not lying. You are the finance ministry of a sovereign government of your own. Now, whether or not anybody else will transact in your currency, that is left to be seen. If enough people like your currency, they will adopt it. Bitcoin has already proven this. Verge has proven this. Dogecoin has proven this. There's a social aspect, and the involvement of participants, direct involvement of participants in the processing of the transactions, gives us so much more power to vote for which interests we actually feel represent us. I am interested in facilitating completely private and anonymous transactions, so I want to be mining Verge, because I believe it's a good privacy coin. Other people feel other ways about other coins. That's perfectly fine to me. I don't care. All I can try and do is maybe someday put something out that's better than the stuff that's already been put out. You know, maybe I observe all the traits of cryptocurrencies that really work well, and I say, you know what, I want to add the 2.5 minute block time because, 30 seconds is just too fast. And I really like the number of coins, but there's just not as many as I think there should be. I really like, for Bitcoin, the 140 years worth of mining we're supposed to get out of it. However, I don't like the limitation at 1 megabyte per block. I think that the block limit should be whatever the fucking market really wants. If the market wants 128 megabyte blocks and can deal with having 128 megabyte blocks, who am I to say they shouldn't have it? I'm nobody. I'm just like, I'm maybe some guy that writes some code and says, hey man, if you want to run this code on your miners, you can. That's the extent of my influence. But now, rather than trying to defer to some sort of authority to challenge me, you should be learning how to code. Take the ideas that I put out and say, you know what, I like this and I like this, but you know what, this thing right here, I don't like it. And either try to fork my coin or do something brave and put out a coin of your own. I am Janet Yellen. I am Jerome Powell. I am the head of the Federal Reserve Bank. That's what you got to be saying to yourself in the mirror every morning. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. And somebody had called for some Slayer. And I love playing Slayer because I never hear enough of it. And, you know, this idea of the kind of music that I play on this show and whatnot, I can't lie. It was inspired a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away before it got really, really popular for a short period of time and then went kaput. There was this little radio station down in Long Beach, California called KNAC. And it was that radio station that had enough balls to play Rain in Blood by Slayer at 11 a.m. on a weekday. And it's for that I've always been inspired that, you know, if I ever had a radio show, that I would play whatever the fuck I want, no matter how much profanity it has in it, and I would most certainly be playing motherfucking Slayer. So here it is, War Ensemble, here on Coin Metal. And that was Suicidal Tendencies with Trip at the Brain. Yeah, everybody needs a trip every once in a while. I think, anyway. That's just my flavor on it. Although, I will say this. I'm kind of against the idea of microdosing. I think that the LSD is not something that should be taken as a, how should I say this, cognitive supplement. Because you can get kind of weird on acid, and you know, no matter how much of it is in you, it does kind of change your perspective quite a bit. And not just in a I'm so creative kind of way. Anyway, I got this this article here on thebitcoinist.com. Japan introduces 5-point agenda for cryptocurrency exchange regulations. This is by Soto Avon Nomeo. Let's see if they'll give us a cup check here. No, that's not what we wanted. Anyway, continuing on. Japanese cryptocurrency exchange platform CoinCheck was hacked in January 2018, resulting in the theft of more than $500 million worth of crypto. In the aftermath of the CoinCheck saga, the FSA has been hard at work trying to secure the country's crypto exchange arena. Japan has in recent years established itself as a crypto-friendly nation. The new measures by the FSA, while being strict, are not meant to alter that narrative. Instead, the agency wishes to sanitize the market, protecting investors and preventing money laundering. To this effect, the FSA has released a new 5-point agenda for regulating the crypto exchange arena. The 5-point agenda. Firstly, cryptocurrency exchange platforms will adhere to robust security standards. These standards include ensuring that coins aren't stored on online wallets and creating two-factor authentication for currency transfers. Online crypto storage options are notoriously prone to hacking, and 2FA helps prevent unauthorized crypto transfer. Secondly, these exchange platforms will develop thorough know-your-customer processes. The essence of this step is to eliminate money laundering. As a result, there will be stringent customer ID protocols for large value crypto transfers. Thirdly, the FSA will require crypto exchange platforms to imbibe best practices regarding asset management activities. Thus, customer assets must be managed separately from the corporate exchange assets. Platforms will perform regular daily checks on customer account balances to prevent any manipulation. The agency also wants cryptocurrency exchange platforms to provide systems in place that will prevent employees from making unauthorized trades with user funds. The fourth point deals with restrictions on particular crypto species. The FSA has blacklisted privacy-focused cryptos, which grant complete anonymity while making them popular with money laundering activities. Registering platforms are henceforth prohibited from listing those cryptocurrencies. The final point covers the structure of exchange platforms and how they operate. The FSA is calling for a clear organizational structure within these companies. As such, there should be a separation of shareholders from the management team. Also, development and asset management roles will be separated. This separation is to prevent insider trading and other forms of internal system manipulation. A more hands-on approach to cryptocurrency regulation. Speaking on the new approach, an FSA source said that the agency is committed to a more hands-on approach to regulating the country's crypto exchange platforms. Quote, "Without the necessary know-how, we've been feeling our way through the dark on how thoroughly we should check these different aspects. The FSA plans to carry out a detailed review of registration documents submitted by these platforms. After that, the agency will send inspectors to assess the systems and protocols on the ground in these platforms. The 5-point agenda is expected to come into effect when the FSA begins accepting applications for registration. The new framework also applies to existing platforms as well. Will this new FSA 5-point agenda help to prevent another high-profile crypto exchange hack? No. Should other countries emulate the Japanese cryptocurrencies regulations framework? No. Let us know in the comments section below. I see this as a no all the way around. And I'm going to show comments just to see if there's anything tasty. And nobody has commented on this. It's quite surprising. Yeah, I don't see this working out very well. For a number of reasons. Most particularly, and I think this one is going to be kind of obvious because it's the bell I've been ringing on all of these, is that the Japanese regulators themselves, who have involved themselves in cryptocurrencies, will find themselves unable to adhere to these regulations. And so I think that over the longer term, within the reason why they give these 2-month windows and whatnot is just to test what the market reaction is. If there's some big shift to suddenly become compliant, they monitor the level to which parties are willing to, and then they take the best practices of the biggest brokers and they use those as the standards or the base for the standards, and then they operate from there. However, where I see this failing is that as soon as they really do try to apply any of this pressure, invariably a regulator, a governor, a president, a somebody, or one of their kids, or one of their relatives, or one of their political appointees, or somebody is going to come to them and say, look, dude, you're costing me like millions of fucking dollars. I can give you a kickback if you just shut the fuck up about this, okay? Just shut the fuck up about it, and I'll give you some bones. I mean, that's like the best scenario that could come from that, is that they'll say that to the right person, and then the right person will say, well, you know, I really want to get reelected next year, and that'll be that. They'll just shut the fuck up, and everything will go forward as it has before. It will keep benefiting everybody that does try and get into it intelligently and does do their homework. I know, I hate doing it myself, but you know, it's your money. You've got an interest in, you know, being a good steward of it. You know, you expected banks to be stewards of your funds for a long time. Well, now you have the option to be the steward over your own funds. And with that power comes a great deal of responsibility. You just got to understand that when you're going into it. You know, you might be Jerome Powell, but you know, you got to dictate your own monetary policy. You got to be willing to set the standards for what type of risk you're willing to adopt or accept. You know, I mean, and if you find that there is a regulatory sector that is unfavorable to you, look for one that is more favorable to you. That is the option that is now available to you. And you know, the fact of the matter is that if you really were interested in it, there are plenty of ways to circumvent the geographic limitations that you may experience due to regulatory restrictions. And I'd be willing to bet you there are plenty of people taking advantage of the international arbitrage out there, and it's not just the big boys. As a matter of fact, they're probably the least sophisticated about it. The most sophisticated about it are the people who have found a necessity in it. It was in their interest to say, you know what, I'm in China. I'm in this little town in China, and I don't like the monetary restrictions that I'm experiencing here in China. I am going to try and circumvent the Great Green Firewall of China and get my transactions done according to the standards of Bangladesh, where they don't have any regulatory friction at all. And that's what's going to happen. Those interests will increase in their value. The premium for their services will increase. The demand for their services will increase. And there again, you've been circumvented. Regulators, I've been telling you this a million times, and I'm going to tell you a million times again. You have as much power over cryptocurrencies as the average Joe on the street. And that's both empowering and disempowering from your perspective, I'm sure. But you do have to understand, everybody else out there, when you're walking down the street, whether they know it or not, they have sheathed at their waist the fucking Vorpal blade of digital finance. And if they know how to, they can wave it around just as effectively as you ever have. That is the world that we live in right now. And even with restrictions of regulations, yeah, you're going to impact some part of this economy. But so much of it is going to look at the kind of barriers that you're trying to impose, and they're saying, look, dude, you're not actually giving me any more protection than I had yesterday. Exchanges are still going to get fucking hacked. Why? Because that's where the fucking money is. What do you think you're playing with here? People value this as money. People use these coins as money. But unlike the monies that they've been restricted to using before, they are the ones that control it. They are the ones that distribute it. You. It's not a they thing. Okay? I'm sorry I keep putting it into that perspective or that language here. It's a you thing. It's a we thing. It's an us thing. There is no you. There is no they anymore. You or them. You or they. And once you start understanding what that connection really gives you, what that opens up to you individually, then you will see all of the little fractures and all the little creases that people have been trying to draw into this, and partitioning things off, and making things private, and you're going to see those things as inefficiencies. If you're at all efficiency minded, if you were at all interested in streamlining your shit to where you're making the maximum amount of profit for the minimum amount of effort, you are going to look at these barriers and you're going to say, why am I entertaining this fucking barrier? It's not doing me any good. It's costing me money that it doesn't need to cost me. And I'm having to charge my customers all the way down the line more for this service than I do need to. And that's putting me at danger of being supplanted by a smaller, faster competitor that is not willing to adhere to this fucking bullshit. Where they have seen the same barriers and they've said, you know what, fuck that, I'm not going to do that. I think that represents enough of the crypto economy out there that you really need to be availing yourself of that level of power. Because the kind of things that you're trying to simulate with regulation, good players, bad players, we knock people down at their knees all day long on Twitter when they fuck up. And it's there. You can watch it. Crypto Twitter is lively all fucking day long. It's a continuous show. I'm a participant in it, but it's a fuck fest, man. If you fuck up like Paycoin, when Paycoin fucked up, BitConnect, the memes were endless. You think anybody associated with that is like walking around in some company as an executive right now? If they are, they were before they got involved with BitConnect, and that's like the only thing that's protecting them from a jail cell right now. But yeah, I sat in the Verge chat room and watched the memes pouring. BitConnect! Yeah, okay. We saw that one coming like a million miles away, and when it came to fruition, it was not a disappointment. It came off gloriously and as we anticipated. But we didn't need the SEC, we didn't need the CFTC, we didn't need the IRS, we didn't need anybody to tell us BitConnect was a fraud, BitConnect was a scam, BitConnect was going to take your fucking money eventually if you left it there long enough. I'd really like to say that there is any one entity that would be immune from that, but that's not true. And in best practices of crypto is that you hold your own fucking keys. That you do your trading and whatnot, but at the end of the day, you just take your fucking money off the table. And when you're ready to throw some back down and flex the up and down on it, then you go ahead and you put what you want back on there. But it's that level of management that's available to you now. It's no longer, I'm going to put it in U.S. banks' hands and let them hold on to it, or Wells Fargo, or whoever else. It's you. You can hold your own funds, and you don't have to even hold them online. If you're smart enough about it, you'll get a device that is completely non-networked. It doesn't even have to be an expensive device, just non-networked and interfaceable. import a key generator, make a fucking wallet on that device, print it out on a non-networked printer, or at least a networked with that device printer, and send funds to it. It's more secure than any funds you've ever had that have been digital, because it's in your hands. How often has that been true? I mean, like your credit card. Nobody has to physically gank your credit card to be able to do credit card fraud with you. I mean, they just got to be able to convince somebody else that they're you and get your information, by either hacking your device or some other way. Like they get onto your Google account and there's a credit card associated with it. Bam, bam. Thank you, ma'am. I buy whatever the fuck I want with it. And of course, because they're Visa or whatever, they'll eat the cost. But it really doesn't make you any safer. It just means that you get recompensed when you get fucked. And I mean, there is that additional danger that, say you were storing physical gold or physical silver. Think about the kind of security protocols that you would enact in order to protect said physical commodities. Safes, safety deposit boxes, that kind of shit, right? Those are the kind of things, the levels of protection that you would want to go through to protect those paper wallets, because they are more or less like holding a fucking big old chunk of gold. Say you had Litecoin on it and you put it on there when it was $15 a coin, and you put like 1,000 on there. Not to say that I have, because I have not. Surprisingly enough, I haven't actually traded any Litecoin. I think I might have bought it once and then sold it shortly thereafter at a little bump of a profit. But I don't know, their immediate willingness to jump in and do the SegWit thing without any real demand for SegWit, I thought that was kind of bullshit. But anyway, I never invested in Litecoin. But like, say you did. Say you put it on there when it was like 15 cents. And now it's like $120 a piece. But it's there, right? You might as well just have a big ass stack of gold. Because that little piece of paper is worth the equivalent in monetary value. I mean, really. I am Jerome Powell. I am Janet Yellen. You are too. Anyway, it's with regard to that exchange of power that's happened. I got this article here on CoinDesk, and to me, this kind of exemplifies it. Binance CEO blasts VCs and calls ICOs, quote, necessary. This is by Wolfie Zhao, authored May 7th, 2018 at 8 p.m. UTC. Zhao Shangpeng, the CEO of popular crypto exchange Binance, said that the initial coin offering model is preferred to venture capital, even with the risk of fraud. In a blog post published Monday entitled ICOs, not just, quote, good to have, but necessary, the Binance chief took aim at the VC world, notably writing that he believes, quote, raising money through ICOs is about 100 times easier than through traditional VCs, if not more. It's a notable statement considering Binance's position as one of the world's largest crypto exchanges, nor is it perhaps surprising, given its 2017 token sale as well as the exchange's recent spat with US VC firm Sequoia. As reported previously by CoinDesk, Zhao was sued by Sequoia in Hong Kong for allegedly speaking to other investors while in talks about a possible capital injection to the firm. In the blog post, Zhao argued that, quote, a vast majority of, quote, professional VCs have no clue about the projects or field they invest in. Many of them have zero startup experience and don't even have a basic understanding of the technologies involved in their fields. Zhao went on to write, and despite admitting ICOs result in failure or outright fraud, Zhao still believes that, quote, compared to traditional VC invested projects, a larger ratio of ICO projects will succeed. What's more, he argued that most of those putting their money in such tokens are aware that they may not succeed in the long run. Quote, most ICOs are new startup projects and have a high rate of failure, just like in traditional startups. This is nothing new. Most ICO investors already know ICO investors are early adopters and learners, later concluding, the faster movers will reap exponential benefits. Don't get left behind. I could not agree more, Mr. Zhao. And let's dive into this little blog post, because I'm keenly interested. And we're also going to be addressing a counterpoint to this by a little more weathered voice in finance, if we have the time. But here we go. This is by Binance on medium.com. ICOs, not just good to have, but necessary. Through my own experience and watching hundreds of other projects at close distance, I would say raising money through ICOs is about 100 times easier than through traditional VCs, if not more. With the ease of raising money increased, logic says there may be 100 times more startups, well-funded startups, where ICOs are allowed. Now imagine two otherwise identical locations, but one has 100 times more well-funded startups. What would their relative speed of technological advancement and economic development be? Which country will become wealthier over time? Which country will be able to collect 100 times more taxes over time? Which government will have more influence, more power, over time? For me, it is crystal clear, but draw your own conclusions. Let's look at a few different aspects of ICOs. Why are ICOs good? Well, for strong entrepreneurs, if given a choice between 1. Courting VC investors, doing PowerPoints, business plans, pitch decks, executive summaries, due diligence, term sheets, investment agreements, offshore company structure setup, board of directors, make reports for them, getting a bridge loan because VC lawyers insist on some totalitarian terms that essentially gives them absolute power and ownership of your company and hence delays the whole investment process. And at the end of a 6-month cycle, maybe getting $150K US dollars worth of angel investment, while the CEO and other founders spends a majority of his time and brain cycles on this and not on the core business, and repeat the cycle immediately again. Or, number 2, writing an awesome white paper about your passionate dream project and raising $20 million US dollars in 10 days from thousands of people around the world who speak your language, understand your vision, use your product as soon as it's launched, spend all day beta testing your product, or discuss with you about new, neat, and sometimes useless features that you haven't thought about. If you are an entrepreneur, which path would you choose? If your local jurisdiction doesn't allow ICOs, would you be tempted to move to a different country to pursue your dream? Fuck yeah! For investors, ICOs are also attractive. Again, consider the alternatives. Number 1, say you wanted to invest $1,000 in the $50 million round for Uber. Guess what? They won't take your money. Even if you had $1 million, they may or may not take it. They are likely being courted by more famous VC investors. Of course, you can try to give your money to a famous VC investor if you meet their minimum threshold for investing, which is often a few $1,000,000, and you are okay with them taking a 2% management fee annually, and you are okay with not having a say in what products they invest in. Oh, and you are okay with waiting for 8 years to see how the fund does. How many 8 years do you have in your life? How many VC do you know or trust? Do you really want to pay for their business class tickets and 5-star hotels? Or number 2, you could invest in any number of the awesome ICO projects where you have been following the founders for some time. Know their history. Share their vision. Know you will use their products if it works. You can invest $500, $5,000, or $50,000 in each of a dozen projects you like, depending on how deep your pocket is. And see which one works. You have the choice to exit your investment at any time afterward on an exchange where the project coin is traded fully liquid. And you can invest in awesome projects around the world and not limited to projects in your country. How does that sound? Would you still beg a VC to take your money? That's all good and rosy, but ICOs are not without their problems. We are still in early days of the industry. You can't make advancement without encountering problems. Properly dealing with issues is how progress is made. If we had given up e-commerce/internet because there was identity theft or credit card fraud, where would the world be today? Whoever deals with the issues best will be the winners. That's where the competition is. Let's take a deeper dive in some of the common problems and misconceptions. Professionals versus crowd. There is a notion that, quote, professional investors are better than regular retail investors at evaluating projects. I believe this notion ignores how the real world of ICOs works. That the, quote, regular investors work in crowds or hive mind. Is the crowd stronger than VCs when it comes to evaluating projects and due diligence? You bet your ass it is! We do it in fucking real time all day long on Crypto Twitter. While some professional VC investors are truly experts in their field and genuinely trying to help entrepreneurs, I find the vast majority of, quote, professional VCs have no clue about the project or field they invest in. Most of them have zero startup experience and don't even have a basic understanding of the technologies involved in their fields. Many VCs don't use the products of the companies they invest in. They look at hundreds of projects across a variety of industries, spend most of their time negotiating with entrepreneurs while staying at 5-star hotels and fly business all day long. Today, there are probably more of these, quote, professional VC funds than there are startups. Compare this with a couple of thousand retail investors in an ICO. They range from novice to advanced potential users of the product, are genuinely interested in the industry, have been following the team, and are not shy about sharing any negative feelings on social media or question the founders in Telegram groups directly. Which group do you think will be more likely to be thorough in their findings? Accountability counts for something, dude. As an ICO investor, this of course requires you to do your homework too. Thank you, Mr. Zhao. Thank you. Don't just follow the herd. Invest in projects you understand. Read the white paper. Follow the founders for a while before you invest in them. If you find anything good or bad, share it. You need to contribute to the crowd that you are part of. Scams. Scams exist everywhere, in every industry. I still receive phone calls and SMS telling me I won a grand prize, but I need to make a bank transfer to someone first. Does that mean we should stop using phones, SMS, and banks? The law enforcement dealing with scams in traditional industries still apply in new industries. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here. I've been saying that a million times. Thank you, Mr. Zhao. Failures. Most ICOs are new startup projects and have a high rate of failure, just like in traditional startups. This is nothing new. Most ICO investors already know this. ICO investors are early adopters and learners. I do believe compared to, quote, traditional VC invested projects, a larger ratio of ICO projects will succeed. There are at least 3 reasons for this. Number 1, the founders spend less time raising money and have more time to focus on the product development. I agree. 2, with increased funding, some shortcomings of the project will become easier to overcome. For example, if the founding team is weak in marketing, it is now far easier to hire related specialists given the available funds. 3. ICOs help jumpstart the project with an initial user base. Now, users are investors. They make returns at the same time as they use/pay for the product and make it popular. Conclusion. Guess what most VCs do today? They invest in ICOs now. VC groups, unlike other large, slow-to-react organizations, have their nose on the money. That pretty much says it all. Unfortunately, many other large organizations who are responsible for economic development and public wealth are not as nimble. The faster movers will reap exponential benefits. Don't get left behind. Thank you, Mr. Zhao. I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation, but bravo. I think you nailed it 100%. And we don't have time for the counterpoint from Mr. Berkshire Hathaway that we're rat poison and we're fucking everybody. You know what, dude? I lived through the ICO bubble. I watched you people throwing money at projects, just fucking mamby-pamby projects that had a .com on them. I watched the same thing during the Linux bubble, where all it had to say was that it was open source, it was Linux, and you guys just threw money at it. I mean, you were throwing money at hardware manufacturers that optimized for Linux. I mean, give me a fucking break, dude. I mean, we got a lot of development out of it, that's for damn sure. But the idea that the channels that direct the money into new projects, that it should be solely restricted to quote-unquote professional traders, I disagree. I disagree wholeheartedly, because I am the market. Not some VC funder. I, me, you, we, us. And like Mr. Zhao said, the fucking VCs aren't even a they anymore because they're investing in ICOs. They're a we now. There is no they anymore. This whole restriction containment bullshit, it's gone. You just got to get over that. Once you get over that hump, then you will see the sunshine on the other side of the hill. It's a conceptual thing, a perceptual thing. It's something that will change if you do actually do your homework. There's no pain involved here. You can move nimbly from one currency unit to another based on its own risk profile. You can decide which one is stable for your business. Maybe your exchange is between cryptocurrencies and dollars or rubles or whatever is so fast that you don't give a fuck about a $5 drop in Bitcoin. You just don't care. It's not enough to impact you over the longer term, because there's going to be times when you're actually making $5 to $10 more. And it will even out over the longer term. And again, your risk tolerance is yours to manage now. It's no longer just the VCs, it's no longer just the banks, it's no longer the Fed, it's no longer any of those. Me, you, we, us. That's what it's about now. And it is with that I would like to close out this episode. And I have not picked a last dance. And so I'm just scrolling. You know, we haven't played any fucking 12-foot ninja tonight. I don't know how we got away with that. I really don't. But we're going to fix it. And it's got to be one-hand killing. And it is with that I would like to close out this episode. We will be back again on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I want you all to trade safe, do your homework, and watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. Thank you very, very much for listening. I certainly appreciate the support. You can find me on Twitter, also in the chat room for Telegram for Verge Currency. And so until Wednesday, you all have an excellent evening. Here it is, 12-Foot Ninja, one-hand killing, here on Coin Metal Last Dance. Thank you again for listening, and you all have a great night.